The cake was lemon. She'd insisted on lemon because chocolate was predictable. And she'd said it loud enough for everyone to hear, the way she says most things. I remember noticing the frosting first. Too glossy. Too perfect. The kind of cake that looks better than it tastes. It was her promotion party, executive vice president. The title had sounded heavy when the board approved it last year. Heavy enough that I'd asked twice if we were moving too fast. We were sisters before we were anything else. That was the complication. Our company isn't enormous, but it isn't a vanity project either. We employ real people with mortgages and sick parents and kids who need braces. When I took over as CEO 3 years ago, I promised myself I would not run it like a family dinner table. Still, when she pushed for the role, I told myself she would grow into it. I told myself potential counts. The living room that night was full of our relatives, a few board members, some senior staff. Laughter drifted in waves. My sister held court in the center, glass raised, voice bright. Someone asked how we managed to work together. She smiled the way she used to when we were children and she'd won something small but visible. "Oh, it's easy," she said. "I just tell her when she needs to find a better job." She turned to me, smirk lingering. "Seriously, if this whole CEO thing doesn't work out, I'll help you polish your RA someday." It was meant to land as humor. It didn't. The room went still in that particular way rooms do when people aren't sure whether they've just witnessed a joke or a challenge. A board member shifted his weight. Our aunt stared at her plate. I felt the silence more than the words. It wasn't humiliation. I've been underestimated before. It was something else, a confirmation. The casual disregard she carried into conference rooms had finally surfaced in public. I nodded, not because I agreed, because I understood. Earlier that week, HR had sent me the final performance review summary, missed revenue projections, 2 senior managers requesting transfers, anonymous feedback describing erratic leadership, and public belittling. I had already met with her twice. "You can't manage adults like they're interns," I'd told her in my office, calmly. Door closed. She'd leaned back in her chair, dismissive. "They're sensitive. You're too soft with them." I documented everything, not because she was my sister, because she was an executive. At the party, I excused myself under the pretense of checking on catering. In the quiet of the hallway, I opened my phone and reread the draft email HR had prepared at my request that afternoon. It wasn't written in anger. It was procedural. Subject line: formal review outcome and role adjustment. I stood there longer than I needed to. I thought about our childhood bedroom, about her defending me once from a school bully, about how success had hardened into performance for her. Then I pressed send. When I walked back into the living room, they were lighting candles. She was laughing again, unaware. Or pretending to be. We sang. She cut the cake. Her phone buzzed first. She ignored it. It buzzed again. This time she glanced down, irritated. I watched the flicker cross her face, the brief tightening around her mouth, the pause that lasted half a second too long. She read it fully. Color drain just slightly, not enough for most people to notice, enough for me. The email was simple. HR requested her presence Monday morning to discuss the outcome of her executive performance review and a restructuring of her role. It stated clearly that her EVP position was under reconsideration effective immediately. No mention of the party, no reference to her comment, just facts. She looked up at me across the room. For the first time that evening, she wasn't performing. I didn't look away. The rest of the night continued, oddly intact. People finished their slices. Conversations resumed, though softer. If anyone sensed the shift, they were polite enough not to name it. After the last guest left, she found me in the kitchen stacking plates. "What is this?" she asked, holding up her phone. Her voice wasn't angry. Not yet. It was controlled. "It's the review process we discussed," I said, "during my party. The timing isn't about the party." She searched my face for something. Guilt. Maybe. Or triumph. I gave her neither. "You're doing this because of what I said." "No," I reply. "What you said reminded me why it has to happen." Silence again. This one heavier. "You're my sister," she said. "I know." And you're choosing the company over me? I'm choosing the standards we agreed to when we took these roles. She laughed once, short and sharp. So that's it. It's not a termination. I said HR will outline options. A step down into a director role with a development plan or a transition package. You already decided. The board signed off this afternoon. That was the unmistakable part. Authority not as anger, but as structure. Documented. Reviewed. Approved. Monday's meeting was clinical. HR present. Notes taken. The board chair dialed in for 10 minutes to confirm alignment. It wasn't theatrical. It was clear. She chose the demotion. On paper, it looked supportive, an opportunity to recalibrate. In reality, it was a boundary. At work, something shifted. Managers who had been cautious grew steadier. Meetings felt less tense. No one celebrated. They simply exhaled. At home, things quieted. She skipped the next Sunday dinner. Our mother asked if everything was fine. I said we were working through some professional adjustments. Weeks later, my sister and I met for coffee, neutral ground. I didn't think you'd actually do it, she admitted, stirring her drink without looking at me. I know. You could have protected me. I did, I said gently. For a year, she absorbed that. It wasn't an apology and it wasn't an attack. I didn't mean what I said, she added after a while. I believe you, I told her. But meaning isn't the only thing that matters. We sat there in a kind of fragile truce, not repaired, not destroyed. At the office, my authority no longer felt conditional. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was understood. At family gatherings, she measures her words now. I measure mine too. There was no victory that night with the lemon cake. No satisfaction in the email's arrival, just a line drawn. Some lines cost more than others. This one brought clarity.